Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1939 war romance epic Gone with the Wind.
Will you please go now and leave me alone?
Hey, you haven't even seen my full review yet. At least give me somewhat of a shot. Maybe you'll actually enjoy it. If this is your first time joining me, I'm reviewing every movie in this book, the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Gone with the Wind is considered to be one of the greatest films of all time. It's one of the most quoted, one of the most parodied, and today considered one of the most controversial movies ever made. It stars Vivien Leigh as Scarlett O'Hara, Clark Gable as Rhett Butler, Thomas Mitchell as Gerald O'Hara, Olivia de Havilland as Melanie, Leslie Howard as Ashley, and Hattie McDaniel as Mammy. And I just want to say personally, I think that Thomas Mitchell had one of the greatest acting years of all time in 1939. Not only was he in this film, but he won Best Supporting Actor for Stagecoach. He was in Hunchback of Notre Dame, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and Only Angels Have Wings, which is an absolutely crazy year for him in cinema. How could he be in 5 fantastic films all in the same year? Anyway, this film was nominated for Best Lead Actor for Clark Gable, Best Actress Support for Olivia de Havilland, Best Sound Recording, Best Effects, Special Effects, and Best Music Original Score. It won for Best Actress Vivien Leigh, Best Actress Support Hattie McDaniel, Best Directing for Victor Fleming, Best Writing Screenplay, Best Cinematography Color, Best Art Direction, and it won the big prize that year of Best Picture. I honestly have no idea how this film did not win Best Music Original Score, because the music in this film is legendary. It moves the film. It is absolutely fantastic. You could just get lost in the cinematography and the music in this film. It is just dazzling to watch. It dazzles on screen, the whole thing. I will also say that I think Vivien Leigh in this movie is one of the greatest female acting performances of all time, and I think she deserved her Oscar. She is basically on screen every second of this 4-hour film, and she somehow, for all 4 hours, commands the screen. She captivates the audience. She is just an acting tour de force, and I will never for the life of me understand how someone can command a screen for an entire 4 hours and have everyone just waiting for your next words, waiting for what you're going to say next, waiting for what you're going to do. And that's what she does in this film. She is absolutely amazing. One of the greatest acting performances of all time. So Hattie McDaniel also made Oscar history for this film. She was the first African-American to ever win an Oscar. She won Best Supporting Actress. This was a defining Hollywood epic. It set a new standard for large-scale storytelling. Its sweeping Civil War narrative, massive sets, and long runtime helped define what an epic looks like today. Without this, there would be nothing like Ben-Hur. You wouldn't have the big Hollywood long movies that are popular and that are epic and that everyone loves. It's also groundbreaking success and popularity. It became one of the most commercially successful films ever made. Adjusted for inflation, it's often cited as the highest grossing movie of all time. It was a cultural phenomenon in 1939. It was seen by a huge audience across many generations. It was a major Academy Award milestone. It won 8 competitive Oscars, dominating the ceremony and helping cement the Oscars as a major cultural event that is today. It might have lost some of its major cultural eventness today. I think a lot of people aren't as interested in the Oscars as they used to be, and I think it's because a lot of reasons, but the movies that people go and watch are not the ones that are usually nominated. The Technicolor and cinematic craft, its use of Technicolor costume design, cinematography, and music, including its famous score, showcased the peak of 1930s filmmaking. Craft influenced how historical dramas were made going forward. Now, the cinematography is fantastic. There's a specific scene in this film. There's a lot of scenes in this film. A couple I want to talk about. There's a scene where Scarlett is standing with her father and he's talking about the land and how land is the most important thing to Irish people, and one day she'll understand that and she'll fight for it, and it'll be the one thing that she wants and the one thing that she desires. And as he's giving her this speech, there's like this red sky of billowing clouds, and it pans over and there's even more red sky. And it just looks like, I mean, I could have this painted as a painting and put it on my wall and just stare at it all day. That's how gorgeous it is. There's also another scene later on in the movie where Atlanta, I think it's Atlanta, Georgia, is just burning. It's on fire. I think it's a pretty famous scene where there's just fire everywhere and everything's crumbling down, and it's just mesmerizing. Like, you are just, it just sucks you in. You're looking at this and you think it's happening in real life. It's just so phenomenal. The cinematography is amazing. It definitely deserved the award for Best Cinematography Color. One of the greatest movies as far as cinematography I've seen in a really long time. It had a cultural impact and controversy. The film has had a long-lasting influence on how the American South and the American Civil War are portrayed in popular culture. However, it's also criticized today for romanticizing slavery and presenting a distorted, nostalgic view of the Confederacy. That is definitely true for this film. There's a character, I think her name is Prissy, and she is one of the most annoying characters I've ever seen on film, and it's pretty much unfair how she's treated. I think the actress, after this film was done, stated that she was very upset at how African Americans, especially her character, was portrayed. She's childlike, she's incompetent, she's easily frightened. There's scenes that are very dramatic and tense, and she's comical for like no reason. She's basically the comic relief in this film when it doesn't need to be there. And it's just really hard to watch. Her character, she's not there too often for the 4-hour runtime, but it is really difficult to watch. For me, there's another problematic part in this film. I don't know if anyone else cares about this, but there's a scene later in the film where Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hara are married, and she has a child, and she decides that she doesn't want to lose the way she looks, and she's still in love with this guy named Ashley. So she decides that she doesn't want to make love anymore, have sex anymore, because she's worried that she's going to get pregnant again. So she tells Rhett Butler basically that she, in no uncertain terms, that she doesn't want to have sex anymore. And later in the film, you could definitely tell that she does not want to have sex. He like takes her in his arms and throws her over his shoulder and takes her upstairs to have sex with her. Problematic for me because I think even if you're married, there's still a discussion of rape there because it's something that she did not want to happen. But that's, I don't know how hot button of a topic that is, but that was problematic for me. Anyway, a general synopsis of this film is that we have Scarlett O'Hara in the beginning of the movie, and all the men love her. They think she's the most gorgeous woman in the world. The only problem is all of them are dating their cousins and their sisters, and she's like the one person who's not part of their families. But they think that she's the most beautiful girl in the entire world, and she's in love with this guy named Ashley. Now, Ashley is engaged to his cousin. This is a family that is known for marrying their cousins, and he is following that trend. His cousin is Melanie, played by Olivia de Havilland, she's also a phenomenal actress. She's in The Adventures of Robin Hood, which I've also reviewed. Anyway, Scarlett O'Hara decides that even though he is engaged, she's still going to pursue him. This movie is a lot about mistiming when it comes to love and when it comes to people who are pursuing those who are not in love with them. And this happens quite often where a character is pursuing just the wrong person at the wrong time. So she is pursuing Ashley even though he is engaged, but he's also part of the problem because he tells her that he has feelings for her, and this makes her believe that she can win him over. And I think in her heart, she just believes that one day they're going to be together and that this is something that can actually happen. Now, while this is going on, another person basically proposes to her at this party, and in order to make Ashley jealous, she says yes, and she ends up getting married. So she's going all in on this jealousy thing. She ends up marrying this guy. Well, then the Civil War breaks out, and this guy goes to combat. This guy goes to war, and he ends up dying in war. Now, this guy is also Melanie's brother, so she becomes family with Melanie, who is the person who's going to marry Ashley. So they become sisters, essentially. Melanie ends up getting pregnant during the war. Ashley goes off to war. They don't know if he's alive or what's going on with him. So it's really just Melanie and Scarlett O'Hara together. Now, Rhett Butler's also in this mix. Rhett Butler is someone who really understands Scarlett O'Hara, probably understands her more than anyone else, maybe understands her more than herself. And he's madly in love with her, and he's pursuing her. So this is someone else who is bad timing, pursuing someone who does not love him. The timing is just all off in this movie for these characters. So he's pursuing her, but she doesn't love him, and she acts like she's disgusted by him, honestly. But he's going to pursue her throughout the movie anyway. So while Melanie is pregnant, she ends up having this child, and Scarlett O'Hara ends up being the one who has to birth this child because all the doctors are busy. There's this really crazy, it's such a crazy scene in the film where she's trying to reach the doctor, and the doctor cannot do it because there's just so many soldiers who are coming back wounded, and they don't have any medicine. They don't have any anesthetic to even knock these people out to do surgeries on them. They're just doing surgeries without anesthesia. And there's this scene where she's running through this, she's like running through the dirt, trying to get to the doctor. And the camera slowly pans out. And as it's panning out, you see just more and more people on the ground who are suffering from injuries from the war. And it's just astonishing. It's such a great shot, and it's such an important shot, and it really sticks with you. Like, this is a shot that I might remember for the rest of my life when it comes to how impactful this was for me in the movie. Just seeing all these people who are just injured and hurt, and these are all like young people who thought that the war was going to be easy, who thought they were just going to get in there and they were going to beat the Yankees or whatever, and they were going to the South was going to rise again, and the South was going to be the greatest thing ever. Rhett Butler in the beginning of the film tried to tell them that all they have are slaves and like cotton in the South. They don't have any means of war. They don't have any ships. They don't have any real guns. They don't have cannons. I think cannons was one of the really big things he was talking about, and that the South doesn't have cannons. We just have slaves. So we're not going to be very good with this war. We're not going to be very good at fighting this war. And everyone thought that he was just some person who didn't know what they was talking about, that he had no Southern spirit, and that they were just going to go in there and this was just going to be an easy fight. And you just see all these young people who are just maimed and hurt, and it's astonishing. It's just such a crazy shot. But anyway, she ends up having to deliver Melanie's child, and she ends up nursing Melanie back to health. There's this crazy scene where Melanie, they're trying to get away. They're trying to get away from this place, and from Georgia, because they're in Atlanta, and the Northerners are coming, and the whole Atlanta is burning around them, and they have to get out. And Rhett Butler ends up coming with his wagon that he stole, I believe, at this point, and he saves them. And like I said, Atlanta's burning, and Scarlett is back there nursing Melanie back to health, not because she loves Melanie, not because she has any feelings for Melanie, but because she's doing it because of her love for Ashley, and she promised Ashley that she would take care of Melanie while he was gone. So she ends up taking care of her and nursing her back to health. She ends up taking Melanie back to like the plantation that they lived on. When they get to the plantation, they find out that Scarlett O'Hara's father is still alive, but he's kind of gone a little cuckoo crazy, and the mother has been killed. And she nurses Melanie back to health, and Melanie really feels like Scarlett saved her life, that Scarlett was this person who was there for her when no one else would be there for her, and she really feels this closeness and this camaraderie and this love for Scarlett that Scarlett just does not feel for Melanie at all. So eventually Scarlett learns that there's these people called the carpetbaggers. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't know if that's a derogatory term because I don't know what that even means. It's just in the movie they call them carpetbaggers. I'm going to assume it's a derogatory term. I didn't look it up. Maybe I should have, but that's what they call them in this film. And they are apparently raising the rent. They're raising the land fee or whatever on Terra, which is where Scarlett lives. And it's a money that she cannot pay, that she does not have. So she runs into an old friend who is engaged to one of her friends, and she decides that she is going to pursue him. She's going to tell him. So this person is someone who owns a business. He has money. He is starting to build wealth. And she ends up telling him that his fiance, the person that he wants to marry, is cheating on him so that she can marry him. Scarlett Johansson's all about, or Scarlett, I keep saying Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett O'Hara is all about survival. She's all about control, and she's all about basically what her father told her is that you need land and you need money, and that's what's important. And that's basically what she's after. She's about surviving. She's about herself getting what she wants, basically, and not really caring about who she steps on as she gets there. So she ends up marrying this rich person, and she has all the money in the world, all the wealth in the world. Now she ends up having to work with the people from the north who killed off all of her friends and killed off her mother. And she says that she's doing this so that she can build this incredible wealth, and then she can, after she's rich and after she has all this money and all this fame, she can stick it to those people. So she needs to build up this wealth and she needs to build up this fortune before she's able to get her revenge, essentially, on these people. Now, something happens where she decides she's going to go into town, and she's going to go through this like shanty town, and people tell her not to do it because it's very dangerous, but she decides to do it anyway. And as she's driving through this shanty town, she gets attacked, and one of the people who are there is one of her former slaves. The slaves in this film are basically depicted as people who love their masters and are very content with their lives. It does not talk anything about how brutal slavery was or how bad slavery was or the horrors of slavery. It's basically, this is the person, like, this is my master and I need to protect them. So as she's getting attacked, he protects her and he saves her. Now word gets back that Scarlett was attacked, so Ashley and her husband and Rhett Butler decide that they're going to go down there and make some trouble for these people and kill a bunch of people, and that's what they end up doing. And while they do that, her new rich husband dies. So she is now a widow twice. The first time was because she was trying to get even with someone. The second time is because she was trying to get money. Now, her third marriage will be, she will finally give in to Rhett Butler. Now, Rhett Butler pursues her and basically tells her that he is going to marry her and he loves her. And she basically tells him, I don't love you. I don't want you. Like, I'm still in love with Ashley. Like, I will never love you type of thing, all this stuff. And he says, well, I don't care about that woman. I'm going to marry you anyway, and we're going to be happy, which is, of course, a mistake from him. I don't know what he expected was going to happen. He's going to marry her, and then she's just going to, like, automatically forget about Ashley, forget about this man that she's loved her whole life. Like, it's just, he's walking into a situation here that's a very bad situation for him, and he should have, he's letting love blind him, in my opinion, essentially. They end up getting married. They have a child together. Something very tragic later on happens to the child. It's a very emotional thing. They have a lot of issues, I would say, when they're married. Rhett Butler ends up finding a picture of Ashley right after Scarlett says she doesn't want to have sex anymore. And he basically says he wants a divorce. He realizes that Ashley is the only person she will ever love. He ends up taking their child. He goes away for a while and then comes back. When he comes back, Scarlett has this conversation with Ashley and realizes that Melanie ends up dying is what happens. And she has this conversation with Ashley and realizes that Ashley doesn't actually love her. and she gets upset because she said, like, this is the whole reason I've been pursuing you. I thought there was a chance for us. I thought that we were going to be together. I thought that you loved me, and it ends up not happening. So she ends up realizing, hey, you know what? Maybe I do love Rhett Butler. And she crawls back to Rhett Butler. She tries to get back with Rhett Butler, and he basically tells her, like I don't want to be with you anymore. The famous line of, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn, and he walks out on her, and that's basically like the entire film. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the story, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with this movie. I don't know, there's just something about it that it's just not, that the story is not entirely interesting to me. What really makes this film for me is the acting. All the actors in this film are fantastic. Vivien Leigh, Clark Gable, Thomas Mitchell, Olivia de Havilland. You have 4 titans of film in this movie that just are at doing the best acting. They are masters of their craft, and they are mastering in this film. They are so great. They work off each other so well. All these actors have such great chemistry together. Alone, when they have like scenes by themselves, they are all just so fantastic. They show great emotion. They bring this film to life. The acting is some of the greatest ensemble acting I've ever seen in my entire life. You also have to put Hattie McDaniel in there as Mammy, and Leslie Howard as Ashley. Just everyone in this film is great. There's hardly any movies I've ever seen where you have like 6, 7, 8, 9 principal actors, and they're all just phenomenal. The only other movie I can think of where that happened was War and Peace, which was also like 7 hours, 6 hours. But the cast, the acting in this film is just phenomenal. Also, the musical score, like I said before, the cinematography. This movie is beautiful. It is gorgeous. It's captivating. It's just so amazing to look at and to watch it all unfold in front of you, to watch all the acting, to watch everything that's going on. It's just mesmerizing. I could sit in front of the screen and watch this all day, every day. Just watch these people act and just be the greatest actors in the entire world. So that's what really makes this movie for me. The story I could do without. I don't really care. But the acting, the cinematography, and the score, I think, are some of three of the greatest I've ever seen in my life. Greatest acting, greatest score, greatest cinematography. Just phenomenal. There's not a whole lot more I can say about it. It's just so great. And even though the movie is problematic, I love the fact that at least there's no blackface in it. I mean, if I'm going to give it something, at least there's no blackface in this film. But it is problematic. They do treat slaves, the idea of slavery, what slaves went through, the horribleness that they went through, how rough their life was. They don't touch on any of that. It is problematic in that way. But I'm still going to give the movie a 10 out of 10. How can I not, with this ensemble cast, with this cinematography, with this score? It's just beautiful. It's just a gorgeous movie. It's just fantastic to look at. And I will say that I was in awe. I was awestruck by it. So I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie called Daylight. Thank you. Have a great day.